Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
We've spoken about how the Quran should be seen as a priority in terms of a source of guidance for Muslims. Dr. Shabir, now we want to look at how the Hadith gained prominence over the Quran in terms of its interpretation. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Dr. Shabir.
Yeah, sure. So let me start by giving an example. The surah known as Surah Al-Layl, I believe it's the 92nd chapter of the Quran. From the 5th verse to the 10th verse reads like this, and you know the verses, but let's look at it. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. And to translate it for our audience, as for those who gives in charity and is aware of God and acknowledges the bounties that God has given that person, God will ease the way to much more easiness, meaning like the life hereafter of paradise. So God will ease the way to paradise for this person. And then the flip side, وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى. As for the one who is stingy and is just self-sufficient, وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى, and denies the bounties that God has given him or her, فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. We shall make easy for him the difficulty that he's going to face. So obviously a reference to the life hereafter is going to be difficult for this person. So now in a nutshell, if somebody is giving charity, aware of God, acknowledging the benefits that God has given him or her, and out of gratitude is giving this charity, God will ease the way to paradise for this person. As for the other person who is stingy, self-sufficient, happy as he is, complacent, not giving charity, denying that God has given him anything, maybe he's saying, okay, God, whatever I got by my own labors, my own toil, my education, whatever. God is going to ease the way to the hellfire for this person. Okay. So now, do you get any sense in this that there is anything about predestination here?
No.
No. Okay. It looks like we're going to make our own future. True? All right. So if somebody gives charity, he's going to go to paradise. Somebody is stingy, he's going to go to hellfire by their own actions. True? Okay. Now, Imam Bukhari divides this segment of from verses 5 to 10, which is like 6 verses. He divides them into 6 segments, a verse each. And he gives a hadith in commentary on this verse. This is in his book of commentary within his larger collection of Sahih Bukhari. So you have Kitab al-Tafsir, the book of tafsir within the larger work. So he's commenting on this verse now. And he gives the hadith that is the commentary on this verse, according to him. Now, the same hadith is repeated 6 times with some slight variations, mostly probably in the chain of narrators. Imam Bukhari wants to include all of the chains of narrators, so he gives it one after another. So basically, the hadith says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was witnessing a funeral, and he said to his listeners, every one of you has his place written for him in Jannah, in paradise and hell. So then the people were stunned. They said, Messenger of God, in that case, why should we bother to do any work? So the Prophet said in response and explaining and answering their question, basically the Prophet is saying to them, if somebody is destined for paradise, God will ease the path to paradise for that person. So it'll be easy for him to do the works which will cause him to end up in paradise. As for the person for whom God has predestined hell, God will make it easy for that person to do the deeds which will cause him to end up in hell. So is there anything about predestination here?
Well, according to Imam Bukhari, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yes.
So the hadith is absolutely about predestination. Your path, your final abode is predestined, and you're going to do the deeds because it's going to be easy for you. So if somebody is predestined for paradise, it's going to be easy for him to give charity. He's going to end up in paradise. Somebody is predestined for hell. It's going to be easy for him to be stingy. So he's going to, through his stinginess, he's going to end up in hell. So you see the verse itself, when I ask you, is this about predestination? You said no. And I hope that all your viewers will be saying the same thing. Our viewers will be saying the same thing. Yeah, the verse itself is nothing but predestination. The verse is simple. If you give charity and you do the other other things like, you're aware of God, you're acknowledging God's bounties on you, you will end up in paradise. It'll be, God will make it easy for you to end up in paradise. If you, on the other hand, you are stingy, you are denying the bounties of God, then God will make it easy for you to end up in hellfire. But it's not that the hellfire and the paradise are already predestined for you, and therefore God is making it easy for you to get there by somehow inspiring you to give charity, or inspiring you, on the other hand, to be a bakhil or a stingy person. So you see, what has happened here is that Imam Bukhari, in order to explain the verse of the Quran, has given us a hadith which presents a meaning that is actually contrary to the passage of the Quran. And this is, to me, I don't know what words to use here to on the one hand remain respectful of Imam Bukhari as we should, but on the one hand on the other hand correct this mistaken sense that because Imam Bukhari has said it, or because he's included this hadith, and because it is a hadith, it must be the thing by which we decide the matter here. No, the thing by which we should decide the matter here is the Quran. And when we can say, okay, somebody made a mistake in narrating this hadith, and Imam Bukhari, living in that time when people have actually come to take predestination as a fact, and not so much the time, because at the same time there were people who denied predestination. But Imam Bukhari is in a stream of scholarship that trumps predestination as the fact. And they're arguing against their contemporaries, and they're collecting hadiths that support that view. And they're using that hadith to interpret the Quran. And in doing so, they're turning the Quran away from its clear dynamic determinism, which means that you do good deeds and your final abode will be decided according to your good deeds. That's dynamic determinism. It's still determinism in a way. Still, God has given you parameters, He's given you limitations and so on. You have so many influences and so on, things that you cannot change. You cannot pick your parents and all of that. Okay, so you're within limitations, but there is a dynamic determinism. God is determining your future in a dynamic way and in response to your actions, whether you're charitable or stingy. On the other hand, the hadith gives you a picture in which your future is already predetermined for you, whether you're going to be in heaven or hell, and you're going to find it easy to do the deeds that will cause you to end up in the place that God has already predetermined for you. Two different pictures, one from the Quran, one from the hadith, and the hadith has been used to cover up that picture that is there in the Quran. Turning away from the plain meaning of the Quranic text to the meaning that is there in the hadith, which is really an opposite meaning. But people have found ways to salvage the hadith by giving interpretations, as they always do.
All right, thank you for that, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
There are people out there who don't interact with Muslims at all in their day-to-day lives. They learn everything they know about Muslims from TV or social media. Our Muslim Media Hub will reach these people and transform their lives. Support us at QuranSpeaks.com.